Resuming debate, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to rise on this occasion and discuss our government's decision to keep its promise, to do exactly after the election as we promised during. We promised, Mr. Speaker, not only that we would bring in roughly 29 different tax reductions, reducing the GST, reducing income tax, a new Canadian employment tax credit that is worth $155 for every single person who works, tax credits to help parents with the cost of putting their kids in sports so that we can encourage families to keep their children active, healthy, and out of trouble, tax credits to help students buy textbooks worth $80 per student, tax credits to help entrepreneurs buy tools for their daily work, and of course the reduction in the GST to help every single taxpayer in Canada regardless of their income. Those were the promises that we made. In order to finance these promises, we committed that we would find $1 billion worth of savings within the fiscal framework of Canada. And that is exactly what we have done. Again, we have kept our word. We found $1 billion in savings. Savings that will put money back into higher priority initiatives, particularly allowing us to go forward and finance our agenda of tax relief for Canadian families. Mr. Speaker, let me talk to you a few moments about the savings that we have discovered. We are spending $40 million less on politicians. By merely reducing the size of cabinet, we have reduced the costs that are associated with having ministers. Now, in the previous government, the former Prime Minister wanted to be all things to all people. And of course, he owed a lot of favors to Liberal insiders and Liberal caucus members who would help him engage in a civil war against his own party and overthrow the previous Prime Minister. And so he spent enormous sums just filling his cabinet with friends. When we took office, Mr. Speaker, under the leadership of this Prime Minister, he was determined not to reward friends, but instead to get the costs down and to ensure that our cabinet would be focused and frugal. And I note, Mr. Speaker, recently the expenses for our cabinet ministers came out. And we had loud criticism for those expenses from the Liberal Party, particularly the member for Wascana. Now, what was his criticism?
Couldn't believe it.
He couldn't believe we were spending so little on hospitality, on late-night cocktail parties, on steak dinners, and on schmoozy lobbyist events. He said it's impossible that they could be that frugal and that responsible. He offered no proof whatsoever that that was the case, but he was dumbfounded at how frugal and responsible this Conservative government had become. So we are spending $40 million less on politicians. Secondly, we've eliminated a program that the Liberals employed where they would pay Liberal lawyers to sue the government and advance Liberal causes. Now, I noticed the member across the way, the Liberal finance critic, complained. He said that the Conservative government has introduced laws that might present some constitutional problems. What laws is he speaking about? Let's get beyond the mumbo-jumbo over there. Let's talk about the facts. He's talking about our tough on crime initiatives. He believes that our initiative to put 3-time violent offenders and sexual offenders in jail forever, unless they can prove that they are no longer a danger to society. He believes that those kinds of laws need to be challenged in the courts through taxpayers' money. He believes that our mandatory jail time initiative, which ensures that criminals who commit serious crimes will serve their time in jail, not in their homes, that member believes that we should pay lawyers to challenge those laws and eliminate these tough-on-crime measures. Now, that member does not have the presence of mind to state clearly that that is what he is talking about, because he doesn't want his constituents to know how soft on crime he is. his entire party has spent the last 13 years coddling criminals. And now when we're getting tough on crime, they're angry because we will no longer pay lawyers to sue the government for cracking down on crime. Instead, we will redirect those dollars towards higher priority initiatives. So yes, we've eliminated the court challenges program, and we've ended funding for the Law Commission, because we believe that the focus on our justice system should be on getting tough on criminals instead of financing lawyers to sue the government. Now, you'll be learning more about these exciting proposals, Mr. Speaker, when the member for Tobik-Mactaquac splits time with me on this, so you can anticipate him rising as well. Something else to look forward to. Mr. Speaker, let me talk about $13 billion that we paid off against the debt. Now, the member across the way complained that we have put money against our debt. $13 billion paying down the national debt of the Government of Canada, according to Don Drummond with TD Financial Group, will save the Government of Canada $650 million every year. Those are dollars we would otherwise have to pay to bankers in interest on that debt, many of them from other countries. $660 million, Mr. Speaker, that we can use to reduce taxes, that we can invest in health care, in a tougher justice system, in a whole series of other priorities. $660 million, which the Liberal government would not have been able to capture and save, because they would have engaged in March Madness, which is to say, Mr. Speaker, that when you're entering the final stages of the fiscal year, governments past have had a tradition of blowing everything in the account, emptying the cupboards to buy electoral support or reward friends. Instead of that approach, Mr. Speaker, we decided to take the full surplus and put it entirely against Canada's national debt. And as a young person who cares deeply about the next generation, I can tell you I am thankful that we have made that down payment on the enormous $480 billion mortgage that they are going to inherit. I'm very proud of that responsible decision to invest in the future of Canada's fiscal health. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to talk to you for a few moments about some of the other dynamic maneuvers that we undertook to save taxpayers' money. For example, when we're talking about the Status of Women program, we did not cut any of the programs associated with that department, but by merely merging offices, we were able to save over $4 million. Not one job was lost, but we saved that money through an intelligent reallocation and intelligent management. Let me talk to you about foreign offices that are used for diplomatic reasons. We were able to find $4 million there just by managing them better, Mr. Speaker. We cut $4 million from a marijuana program that the Liberal Party was promoting. And, boy, they were angry about that. Ever since we cut that program, I've noticed they've not been as mellow over there. So, Mr. Speaker, that was an intelligent move to save taxpayers' money. And in total, again, we saved $1 billion because of our intelligent economization of people's tax dollars. Mr. Speaker, they are angry over there. They said before they supported saving money, but now they are furious because they've learned that it's their friends that have been cut off the trough. At the end of the day, they are making lots of big spending promises, but let's be honest with the Canadian people, Mr. Speaker. If they get in again and they resume their big spending, they'll have to pay for it by raising the GST, taking away the $100 a month to support young families, raising taxes, eliminating the 29 different tax cuts that we brought in for Canadians. That is the real agenda of the Liberal Party. And I wonder if one of their members, all of whom are here today, will be willing to stand on their feet and defend their agenda to raise taxes and take away the choice in child care allowance. Will any of them stand on their feet and defend that plan that they intend to foist on Canadians if they were ever unfortunately given the chance to do so. Will any of them stand and do that, Mr. Speaker? Fortunately, that will not occur because this government has the support of the Canadian people. This Prime Minister is on the right track. We continue to stand up for Canadians, and we're proud of the future we are building for this country. Thank you.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for St. Paul.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker.